Blessings on all. This is Moments with the Muse.
Oh, yes.
Owen Knight talking about the news. Owen is a prolific author, poet, and what I'd like to ask him right now is how does the muse come? What is the muse to you?
Well, all creation starts with love. Love is the basis of existence, really. And, uh, and it's based on a, a triangle, basically, as the driving force. And this comes from the old Druids. They had the driving force. They had it going north, and
Okay.
Their great temple was in North England, and Yorkshire. York was the basis of their great temple, and the old leaders used to get buried going on the road going north from York,
Uh-huh.
and uh, and so they had the creative force there. They're represented of love represented at the temple with the sides there. The joy of using the force to protect the things that they liked, protect the things that they needed, protect the things that they loved. And then they had the knowledge, the truth of the facts that they needed for the creation on the side. And so that you had the force of life driving forward. And this was the old Druidic way. I went up there myself and looked up the North Road from York, where the great temple was. And of course, we have New York in this country, so that we tie in to the great force. Constantine had his great temple there in York, and so that he recognized the fact that was a great spiritual center, and so we relate to the great spiritual center in our Western world, and also the Druidic uh, mathematicians started at the very ancient times in the development of mankind, and you had the mathematicians, the Druidic mathematicians, teaching all along the line as they needed the advanced mathematics for the development of mankind. They had the Druid philosopher based on the Druid math, and Pythagoras and the Greeks got this information on scientific mathematics from the Druids. There's a woman head of the Druids right now there that rides around on her motorbike and is quite active. And then the ancient Druid teachings have been brought forward by Max Planck and by Schrödinger. And Schrödinger has a book out, is What is Life? And he discusses what life is. And it's a very religious sounding book all the way through. And this is the president of this former times. He's deceased now. The president of the European Science Union.
Nice. Now, being a Druid, what would that mean to someone if they were a Druid? How would life look to them?
The best way to say it would be a lot more of a simple thing. It's simplicity.
Simplicity, yeah.
That is the keynote of the Druid philosophy. The basic things tied in to the basic triangle, which comes down to sacred triangle, the basic triangle, and their philosophy and their teachings all tend to fit into the sacred triangle.
Beautiful. Yeah. If I were a Druid, because my practice is New Orleans voodoo, if I were a Druid, how would my life be different if I follow the Druidic teachings?
It might not be different at all. It would just be a way of thinking about it that might be different.
Okay, how would the thinking differ? In other words, if you are a part of the Druidic philosophy, how does your mind work? What is your mind to a Druid? What is your mind?
It's a part of the total of all creation. All creation is connected. All matter is connected to all other matter. The whole universe is one great connected organization, one great body. It's the Almighty. I know my grandfather recognized that, and when he ate his meals, he made a cross, raised his hand and made a cross, which was the cross is a symbol of creation. It's the symbol of the dark goddess that's beginning, that is there as the creative force of all things. And so my grandfather recognized that the cross. Now, when it's used, do you see it on the tops of temples today, a cross sitting there, and you don't notice that it was there way before we recognize it as a sacred symbol. In modern times, there's no dead person hanging on it. The cross on the temples is all by itself, and that's the way it should be. The cross is the big thing, not the body hanging on it.
Oh, and that's fascinating. How about the hat that your grandfather used to wear? Could you describe that? Yeah, fascinating.
The runic cycle of the year, and as you go through your year, well, you go through the important runes, the symbols of the runes, and so for instance, on the 10th of July, you had the rune for the underworld, for the goddess of hell.
Yeah,
and on the secret of that is that she was a good person. The underworld is for good things. It's a good person, and she got pushed there by the erratic star goddess, who caused her to fall from the heights down into the depths. And so you had the perversity of the turnings of chance and progress is give and take, and good and evil, rather not evil and such, but harmful, I suppose say, because it's not really evil, but harmful to some things. But it's all in creation that we see these things, and so you have what looks like good on the bottom, and so there you have the turning of the earth, recognizing all these different forces that have their harmful and creative aspects to each other, and going around in a circle.
That's fascinating.
And that's the turning of the year.
That is fascinating. Your grandfather had a hat
with the runes on it.
Did he wear that a lot, or
all the time?
All the time.
Yes. I have a picture of my grandfather.
Ah, okay.
I don't know whether he looked mysterious, but he was. Well, his cousin was running the country. His mother's cousin was running the country, and it got my grandfather sent to the school for senators' children. It was Roger Brooke Tawney was his cousin, and he was he had something to do with the Supreme Court. Okay. He was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Okay. For a number of through a number of presidencies. And that's where a lot of the teachings come from.
And again, that ties in with Linden Hill.
Yeah, he was a Lord of Linden Hill.
Lord of Linden Hill, yeah, yeah. And that was well, you have the book Linden Hill that's out through Black Moon Publishing, and you're actually rewriting, expanding it right now.
That was my. That was.
Oh, there he is. Oh, very recognizable. Yeah, you hold that up. I'll hold that up for Joe. Yeah. The beauty of that tradition. The beauty of that tradition. Yeah. Well, Linden Hill.
Mhm.
What are you adding to Linden Hill now? It's a beautiful book.
Well, I'm still writing.
Okay.
I have half of it done,
Mhm.
and now by number of pages, it might be way less than half because I get more and more complicated.
Okay.
But I'm writing up my concept of the celebration of the holidays, as they certainly would have been practiced by my grandfather and his family, really before my time in a way.
Oh,
He lived into my adult years, but uh, all my aunts and uncles grew up way before my time.
Yes.
I mean, and so a lot of this was things that I hear about,
Yeah.
but not any. A lot of things I didn't experience myself, because in my grandfather's senior years, we had our own house, um, and we did things a little bit differently than they did them on Linden Hill.
My understanding too is that Linden Hill, that house was there for a long time.
A long time before the country.
Yeah, a long time.
It was of a style that was more like the ancient Irish would build houses, with the things, walls and all put together in a very ancient way.
Wow.
And you had a dark room in the upstairs there was never any electricity.
That's right. Yeah.
No wiring, as long as it throughout the Linden Hills history, and that was until my growing years. But when it was finally torn down by bought and then torn down, Mr. Julian, the Treasury of the United States, bought it.
Okay.
And that was the end of it. Then they had, my grandparents were not well, and so they needed to get medical attention, someplace where they would get medical attention, so that they had to, particularly my grandfather, had to come off of the place with no inside plumbing or no. I mean, we had our wash room was from the water was from the pump outside that was brought in. And we had the pump is a very important fixture. And on certain holidays, you want to decorate your pump house, certainly, because it's the spiritual necessity of protecting your water. And from very ancient times, the water and the water deities were considered to be very important. Water was important. Water is the way to get messages. The spirit moves through the water.
Beautiful. When did your family, I guess, take residence on Linden Hill? About what year? Do you know? How long ago?
Well, you mean time-wise?
Yeah, time-wise. Yeah, linear. Yeah.
Well, I remember them from the 20s. I got to stay there. See, my father, we had a war against the Spanish and took over the Philippine Islands, and in Cincinnati, William Howard Taft went over to take charge of the Philippines. He became the Governor General of the Philippine Islands.
Okay.
And so my father went over there to, or my grandfather, my mother's father, went over there to give him a hand to help him with the running of the Philippines.
Quite a history. Yeah.
My grandfather grew up in a Germanic church, evangelical, they called it.
Okay.
And they had the ministers. His father served in a ministerial role, and my grandfather assisted. But they were very plain people. They wore their everyday clothes, coat and tie, but they didn't have any special investments. But my grandfather said, well, they didn't look very important. And so my grandfather bought real flashy ministerial clothes and got himself authorized into the Episcopal Church, and where they had their fancy ministerial clothes, and the Episcopals wear fancy clothes on a lot of occasions, and they could look important.
The connections between, say, the Druidism, the mysticism, the magic, and the more conventional religions, and the ancestry. The way it moves through the ancestry is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Water. You mentioned water with the pump. What would you say to water? What is water? What is water?
Well, you had the need for water in the development of all life. It's and it's so important that they had very important deities assigned to the water.
Could you speak a little bit about the deities? A little bit.
Yeah, you got your deities of water, who are particularly, and their holidays related to water. You had the deities of love. Water was very important to the deities of love. I know in the Roman calendar, the earliest Roman kings stressed the importance of the holidays associated with the water world.
And that's what you're working on right now, is the holidays.
Yeah, I'm working on the celebration of the holidays.
Celebrations. Hell, you brought that up before. And
yes.
Is there a connection with, the modern name Helen?
Oh, yes. She was Hell and Helen come from the word beauty. A light comes from light, which was related to beauty. And you had Hell as a paradox, ending up in the underworld, the goddess of beauty ending up in the underworld. And she had the name as the goddess was connected to the roads to the underworld. The highways going to ending up being highways to the underworld, they were all supervised by Helen, and it ends up as being Hell.
Wow, and beautiful. Now, at this point, you and I have been on this earth for some time.
Yes, indeed.
What are some of the most important things that you've realized having this incarnation, carbon-based incarnation?
the important.
Yeah, is what lessons have you learned being here on this particular planet at this particular time?
Well, that all things go on and on. There is no destruction of of any matter. No matter was ever destroyed from the beginning of time to the present. Not an atom. Now, this is from Einstein, who was a good friend of Schrodinger's. They had a lot of conversations about life itself,
Uh-huh.
and agreed completely. One point on which the two said yes, indeed, they agreed, was that the Almighty is over everything. That everything is connected to the Almighty. So when you say the Almighty, it's everything.
Everything.
And when the Almighty is over everything, well, things can't be too bad. And this is what Schrodinger said, and Einstein said, "I agree with that." So when they met together, that was one point they agreed on, that everything was all right.
Druidism is quite a past, and it seems to also be evolving into the future and taking in new understandings.
Yeah, an understanding of the goodness of all things, the goodness of the continuation of matter, and always have the good times coming. When you say there's some good times coming, well, that's eternal. Always there's some good times coming, and it's been from the beginning of time, and it'll be to the end. There will be no end of time. It's a great cycle of all things coming again.
Oh, and that is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm delighted.